This is 3.4, National 5 Biology, Energy and Ecosystems. Quite a short one. It's going to kind of move on from looking at. So our learning intentions are you want to be able to explain how energy is transferred or lost between the levels within a food chain, and also there's pyramids in this, so you want to describe what pyramids of numbers and also pyramids of energy show. So here it is, your kind of classic food chain. You've got the producer at the bottom, and then you've got a primary consumer, a secondary consumer, and a tertiary consumer. And as you know from doing food webs and food chains, you hopefully remember that the arrows represent the flow of energy. And the numbers here that I'm just putting up represent the amount of energy which is going through each point in the food chain. So 10% of the energy within the producer is going on to the snail, and 10% of that is going on to the frog, and then 10% of that is going on to the fox. And that energy is the energy that's been used to grow. So that's the energy used for growth. I suppose in the animal you can think about it as the muscle and bone and whatever else, and that is what's passed on to the next level. So that means if only 10% is passed on, then 90% is lost. And there's three different ways in which the energy might be lost. So the first is heat, radiates out of the body. Secondly, movement as well, so that's kinetic energy. And the last one, you're going to have undigested material, so the things that you eat which is not digested and turned into energy which your body can use for other things, but is just lost as waste. Okay, so the majority of energy lost due to these three different things, and 10% of the energy is passed on. Now I did say we were going to look at pyramids. So the first one is a pyramid of biomass, and biomass is simply, the clues in the name, the total dry mass of organisms at each level in a food chain, and you can see it is that sort of classic pyramid shape. So although you have larger organisms as individually at the top end here, they are going to be, if you were to add them all up compared to the mass of flowers, it's going to be much lower. So the biomass gradually decreases. Similarly, in terms of energy, you can see that looks almost exactly the same as the last one. And the pyramid of energy is the total quantity of available energy stored in the biomass. So it does relate back to the last one, stored in the biomass of organisms at each level in a food chain. Pyramid of numbers is just the number of each individual species living in that ecosystem, that community. Now for this, you can see in this instance it is a pyramid, so it's the total number of individual organisms at each level in a food chain. So sometimes you will get the classic pyramid of numbers in the pyramid shape as you would for the pyramid of biomass and the pyramid of energy. However, there are circumstances in which it might not be pyramidal. Is that how you say it? Pyramidal. If you look at these two, what you've got here is the producer is one organism. So in the pyramid of numbers, you can have a wee thin line there. You've then got a large number of insects and then a smaller number of woodpeckers. Okay, so a pyramid of numbers does not always have a regular pyramid shape. So if you look at this one here, you've got heather, a large number of heather plants being fed on by one red deer, and then you've got a large number of ticks which are feeding off the deer. Okay. So here's some other examples. You've got the same four living things in the food chain, but you've got different looking pyramids. Biomass and energy, as you'd expect, and then because you've got that individual producer at the bottom, you've got it looks like a pyramid perched on top of something, okay, for the pyramid of numbers. Okay, I'd like you to press pause and have a go at these. So see if you can match up each pyramid with the food chain. Each of them is a pyramid of numbers. So the first one, that is 3. So the giveaway there is the thin line at the beginning, so that indicates a single producer. So that is oak, caterpillar, shrew and owl. The second one, you've got a very large, you've got a high number of something at the top there, which would maybe suggest an insect, and that is indeed the case. So that is flea that goes in there, so pyramid L is 1. The grass, zebra, lion, flea, and then pyramid M is your sort of standard. So algae, flea, stickleback, pike. So that's number 2. Here's some past paper questions covering this stuff. So again, press pause, have a look at these. They're both multiple choice. So the first one, the producer in 17 is D. And then the pyramid of energy, 21, there is less energy at level X in the pyramid because A, there are fewer organisms at each level in the food chain. B, the organisms at level X are very small. C, energy is lost at each level in the food chain. Or D, energy is stored in each level and not passed on. The reason why there's less energy is because of C. There is energy lost at each level in the food chain. Now, the next thing we'll be doing in class is be doing a bar chart. I think you can do a bar chart and a bit of paper. I mean, you don't have graph paper, but have a go. So pause this and try and make your little bar chart. And here's a nice little craft activity as well. So bar chart on just some normal paper. If you've got some colouring pencils or pens or whatever, follow this through. And what you're going to do is you're going to turn your bar chart into a pyramid of energy. So press pause and do the questions 3 and 4 as well. Okay, so hopefully you've got your bar chart. It's a bit kind of fiddly at the bottom. It looks a bit strange because you've got a tiny, very thin bar for the forks at the top. But you've hopefully made a pyramid of energy. The energy that's passed on between levels is 10%, isn't it? So you've got 1,000 at the bottom. It's going up to rabbit, it's got 100, so that's 10% of that, and then 10% of that is what's going to fox. And then finally, the 3 ways in which energy could have lost between the levels is heat, movement, and undigested materials. So that is it. I mean, it's a short little topic. So we've talked about how energy is transferred or lost between levels in the food chain, so transferred through growth, and then there was those 3 factors in which they're lost. And then we've done some pyramids of numbers and energy and biomass as well, and we've kind of looked at the reasons why pyramids of numbers might look a bit odd. Okay, that is it. Short topic. Hopefully you've understood it okay.